Alright, so let's talk about Hellsweeper VR. It's one of my favorite games on Quest, plus also being underrated. In this update, Hellsweeper has received its largest content drop to date. It's certainly worth checking out, and it brings much improved quality of life features and balancing. To begin with, when the game was released 6 months ago, it wasn't in the best place and had constant setbacks leading up to launch. The current version of the game is significantly better and less grindy. It's worth mentioning that graphically, Hellsweeper on Quest 2 and 3 isn't really anything special, even with this new update. However, it looks significantly better than it once did, and the main focus still is on the gameplay. I did review this game at launch and have this side-by-side footage, but that's before I even knew how to properly edit. PCVR is still the best platform to play this game on. The game is also cross-buy on Quest, so you also get the Rift as PCVR version. For this update, I didn't get Quest 2 gameplay footage for this comparison, but it's more of the same. I didn't think it would change much. The only difference on Quest 3 is that it gets the usual native resolution bump automatically. This update, like the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners update, saturates a good majority of the environment, so it doesn't feel as dense. Some features it does bring on Quest 3 is increased visual effects like particle counts, as well as upgrading the boss arena environment. I did capture before and after on Quest 3. No lie, I really can't tell much of a difference if I'm being completely honest. Editing this footage though, you can see where the textures look less stale. Resolution scale and frame rate is still the same, but in Hellsweeper, the last thing I ever worried about were the graphics. I like good graphics like everyone else, but this game is all about gameplay. This game isn't for everyone though, as it has a steep learning curve. It took me a while to get the hang of its combat and movement system. It's sort of janky, but when you start learning the in and outs, no other game compares to it. The closest comparison I would draw to Hellsweeper is Hades from the gameplay elements and the level structure. Yes, it's another roguelike in VR, and I as well have gotten a little tired of this genre, but every run is immensely different from the last. You can adjust the pace of the game to suit your playstyle, whether that's combining or focusing on a melee gun or elemental magic build. The game offers a lot of replayability, as your RNG would differ from each run, as every level gives you a choice to pick what upgrades and additions you want in your build. As you traverse the underworld clearing dungeons, you also find chests and are given opportunities to upgrade your build. And did I mention you could also pick a hellhound to summon to accompany you and give it unlimited head pats? Apart from the graphics, it has received a new enemy called Wrath, that is a 2-in-1. So once you eliminate one part of the enemy, in its second stage it will become enraged. We also got a new weapon called Mage Staff, allowing you to combine all your magic elements into one weapon, allowing flexibility to those who want to focus on a more hybrid type of build. It features mechanics like Grand Slam and a new spell called Overcharged Magic. I didn't try it as I think the progression system for PCVR and Quest isn't together. They are entirely different game builds. Moving along, now you can equip enemy weapons that are dropped upon their death. Also, now bosses have their elemental variants, and they appear once you defeat their base version. Deceit, Savagery, and Corruption in their elemental versions get buffs and unlock new moves, changing it up a bit. Something new that improves on the experience for the player and not making it harder are called Epithets, a new class and reward system for different playstyles that gives you passive buffs like increased damage or summon a magic orb to follow the player around. The game is much more in-depth, from the reworks of certain weapons, spells, enemies, and if you want to read through it all, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Since you can combine weapons and spells together, the variety of playstyles almost seems endless. With getting back into the game with the Wrath update, the game still holds up, and I really do hope other people start getting into Hellsweeper so that the updates keep coming out and improving upon the experience. A game like this relies on content drops to keep it fresh. It's worth mentioning that the devs Mix Realms listen and actually consider implementing suggestions by the community. When playing Hellsweeper, I prefer a gun elemental magic build, as my play space isn't exactly big enough to go with the melee build, but once you get deep into the game, you start creating OP builds you didn't even know existed, or other times certain runs have bad RNG leading you to get the worst build in the game, but you make it work. To see how far you can go with it, you exponentially increase the difficulty and the game punishes you hard. So if you want a challenge, this is it. For $30, Hellsweeper has a lot of replayability, and you can always go in and out between runs. And I would heavily recommend this game to anyone that likes Blade and Sorcery, Bone Lab, or any type of roguelite. It offers everything those games in a similar genre, but it also brings something different to the table. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would strongly recommend this game if you have have strong VR legs as well. First you'll struggle getting the hang of it as I did, but once you learn the ropes, it's addicting and rewarding. Drop a like or dislike, leave a comment. I'm curious to see what people think about this game, and subscribe. Until the next video, see ya.